What's up, everybody? Welcome to DC Gaming Group Podcast, episode 16. We are back. Sorry about the brief hiatus. Life has been crazy and the world has been crazy, but we are back. When we are back to talk about video games and all things DC Gaming Group. I'm joined by my co host, Justin, the real pipe gamer. What's going on, man?
Yo, it's me. I'm here. I'm over getting sick. So,
Not
but there will
COVID,
be
everybody.
coughing. Not COVID, not COVID, not COVID. But I am. It was something. It's almost like we forgot. There was other kinds of sickness.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
other kinds of like average everyday sickness. I'm
Yep.
sure. Like no one forgot about cancer. No one forgot about like lupus. No one forgot about
Nope.
those things. But we seem to forget that like you can just get the sniffles. You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
um, in my case, I don't know some weird side thing of strep. It wasn't quite strep because all my
Mm-hmm.
strep tests came back negative, but I had all the symptoms of strep, so they
Yo,
don't really know. But hey, I got sick, so now I'm
sh-
just a coughing fool.
Strep, man, that shit is so painful. It's like having a thorn like stuck in your throat.
Yes,
It just every time you swallow, it's just like
yes.
just that shit
I would say that if
sucks.
you were ever an idiot and you ate like snapper or like a fish that had bones in it too quick and you
Yes,
swallowed a fish bone, that's
yes,
exactly what it feels like. And it's
exactly.
just there. And you
Yep.
just have a fish bone in your throat and there's nothing you can
And
do
every
about it.
time you
And
swallow,
oh
you're
my
just
god,
like,
every time you
oh,
swallow, and you're like, do I want to drink this water? I need to be hydrated, but do I really want to do that to myself? You're like, do I really want to eat? Like, man, it's like, I don't know, this hot dog is delicious. I don't know if I want it. Like,
yeah, nah, you seriously reconsider your
your whole life
choices. Yeah, absolutely. Shit, it's
existence
terrible.
is it worth living right
I'm
now?
not gonna lie though, when you got strep as a kid, that guaranteed at least 2 days out of school. So
Yes,
I'm not gonna
without a
complain
doubt.
about that.
Oh
But
man,
now as you get older and you want to do other things, it inconveniences you and it stops life for a bit, and which sucks. But as a
yep.
kid, it just meant you didn't have to go to school, which was awesome. And you could play video games.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, so as we start off, we always have our first segment. Just check in with each other, see what one another is playing. So, Justin, what have you been playing recently?
I'm so glad you asked because I'm about to surprise you with something. So
Okay.
I recently bought a board game and an expansion called Call to Adventure, and it is essentially a I don't know, it's a very simple game. It's not normally a game that I would buy to put in my library. It's not really a game for me. It's fun though. I played it. I've been playing it with my partner Sierra. We've had fun, but really, the reason why I got it was because at the end of the game, it's not a very long game either, but at the end of it, you get all these different things. You basically like get these aspects and traits and challenges for a character, and then you get different things, and at the end of it, you'll have stats basically, and then there are instructions to take those stats and basically plug them right into a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition character sheet. And DCGG recently has been really pushing, getting people together and playing Dungeons and Dragons. So I am basically got this board game and its expansion. I have another expansion coming uh, to donate to what I'm going to call the DCGG board game library. And these will be the first entry. It'll be the first. It'll be the first entry in expansions to the library. Uh, and yeah, I'm excited. I don't know how it's going to be utilized. I mean, I'll hold on to it until someone else wants to hold on to it. Maybe someone who will be maybe um, one of our staff or one of our community managers who will be at be more into the DCGG D&D thing. but yeah, I don't know. I just it's exciting for me because it's an idea that I've always had, and instead of waiting for anyone else to start it or asking for permission, I just decided to do it. So we
Okay.
have our first game in our board game library. Um, while all the other games are mine, people have access to them, and I will happily teach anyone how to play a lot of my games. I say a lot. Now, there's some games that no one will be able to, no one will be able to play. Those are my games for me, and my friends who I
Personal
deem.
collection.
But like this one is not even mine. It belongs to DCGG, and I just gotta get it out there. So that is that's fun for me. I don't know.
Cool.
Do you have any thoughts about that? About
Nah.
the idea of a board game library?
Nah, I think it's awesome. I kind of think of it as the same way where um with video games, like there's definitely games that I mean I have, but I really only bring them out, for DC Gaming Group. I
Hmm.
mean, unfortunately, a lot of it is digital, so
Yeah.
it is like part of my collection. But whenever it's available, or whenever whenever I'm hosting or whatever, it's
Hmm.
just it's open. It's open to everybody. But
But we
uh,
did talk about getting that like Steam account. That would just be
absolutely,
like
yeah,
that would be
absolutely,
DCGG Steam account
yeah,
that we could put games onto that, and then staff and certain community managers would have the you know access to, and then
absolutely,
whenever we want to host things like that, they would have access to that. So
yeah,
it's like kind of like that, but in the physical space. So I'm
yeah.
excited for that. And then the only thing I've really been playing has been Triangle Strategy. Sticking with that, having a great time. I'm stuck, so I'm grinding. The
Damn.
game got hard. Just this it's the last time I got stuck and the game got hard. It was this exact same opponent. I don't
Ooh.
even. I don't know. I'm not. If I think that maybe it's a spoiler, I won't say anything. But
Okay.
there's one particular character. She is very strong. And I say that I put that emphasis because I'm fairly sure anyone who's playing is like instant like, oh, I know exactly who he's talking about.
Mm.
Because I would think that like there's a really strong guy character and there's a really strong female character, and I would say even if those two met up, the female character would destroy the guy character. She's a beast and she's back and she's kicking my ass. Um, so I'm grinding, trying to get stronger. Uh, and get into that. But yeah, like I've been playing much of anything else that kind of touch on our main topic that we're going to get to later.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll stop talking about that for now, and I just asked about you. What about you? What have you been playing?
Not a whole lot, unfortunately. But I have been. Okay, so let me think about. So the last time we spoke, did I talk about Ninja Gaiden Sigma?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, that was the last like big game that I played. It's kind of so I have this like effort that I'm doing is like last year I was just not happy that I didn't spend a lot of time playing the Switch, and I do have a pretty decent backlog with that. And so one of my aims for 2022 was to just start digging through it. And then part of on that backlog was the Ninja Gaiden collection, which has Ninja Gaiden Sigma 1 and 2, and then Ninja Gaiden 3, Razor's Edge. So I just finished Ninja Gaiden Sigma 1 a few weeks ago. But after that, I haven't really dove into another single player game per se. It's really just been the typical rotation of games like Halo Master Chief Collection, Halo Infinite, fighting games. Really been on that. King of Fighters 15. I will say King of Fighters 15 is like one of the first fighting games I really need to learn. Like some of the newer games, the good thing about fighting games now, like the newer ones are way more accessible, which basically just means that you can do awesome shit without having to really like sit in lab and try to figure out how to do all these combos, blah blah blah. The games that are good for that are Guilty Gear Strive. It's very accessible. It looks hard. Some characters are weird, but if you understand, like honestly, you got two buttons that do really good damage, which is your medium punch, and then you have your heavy, and you could do your crush. You know, basically like what they call crush counters, which is basically if you hit an opponent, you have an extended amount of time to follow it up with something. So, um, these games are like those they kind of spoiled me. So when King of Fighters 15 came out, King of Fighters is like one of the more is definitely like the more hardcore fighting game. They've added some accessibility items, but it is you can't just hop in there and do awesome shit. Like you gotta like figure some shit out. So it's one of those games where it's kind of taking me back to the Street Fighter 4 days where that first like few months I got it, it was like struggle, and I remember, playing like my one of my friends. Like it's funny, I have a friend. We both like were going through the same thing where we had a friend that was kicking our ass, and we were very frustrated to the point where we were really considering taking like the game back, and just like
Damn.
yeah, it was really bad. Like we were getting our ass kicked, and we buckled down, and because it was like it's like those ass kickings where it's like you get laughed at, you get you get roasted, you get so it's like you just couldn't like as a pride thing, you just could not let that, and that was like the sweaty days. That was college, so that's like you had time to like fucking get sweaty. So that's when I like buckled down, hit the training mode, figured out all these things, and just was in it. And after that, no more ass kickings. It was reversed, and from then on, so I'm at that point in King of Fighters where I'm like, okay, I'm getting, I'm getting my ass kicked, and I gotta figure out why. And so it just kind of sparked that this is grinding for me. This is gonna be like having to jump in there and really figure out the systems and stuff, and then also on top of that like figure out your characters, because the way King of Fighters work is not a typical like kind of like Marvel vs. Capcom fighting style where it's like tag system. It's
Hmm.
like it's you basically have three characters, but you have to play each of them like separately. You can't tag in and out, so you really have to learn each character. So you got three characters you got to learn, and then there's a huge roster of fighters. So there's a lot of time that needs to be set aside to kind of like really just grind it out. So, but yeah, so I would say mostly right now it's been fighting games. Like we had a fighting game session. So every Wednesday, for DC Gaming Group, myself and Wallace are hosting fighting game nights. So we usually do at least two fighting games a night. Last night we did Street Fighter Five and Guilty Gear Strive. Reason we chose those is because Street Fighter Five just had a massive update. It's basically they call it the definitive update. So it's basically like the end of Street Fighter Five. This is like here's everything. Here's the new systems and mechanics that are gonna hopefully last you throughout the year until like Street Fighter Six and maybe 2023. Maybe I don't know.
Is the
Um,
idea that those mechanics are going to be in six?
Yes, it does
Okay.
kind of give you. So they kind of did the same thing in Street Fighter 4. Like at the end, they came out with this thing called Omega Mode, which basically just added some weird ass shit. Like it was basically shit that you could tell they experimented with early on. And they're like, nah, but for balancing purposes, we're gonna take that out. But Omega Mode was just like fuck balance, fuck all that shit. We're gonna just throw it at you, and you could do go run and run wild. And some of those things did translate to Street Fighter Five, but even when Street Fighter Five first came on the scene and they did betas, they had a bunch of little systems in there where things were a bit wacky and unbalanced. And then when the final game came out, they really railed it. It was so finely tuned and balanced that it was just kind of boring. So over time, they just kind of like loosened the reins, and then this final update, they kind of gave back a lot of the tools and a lot of the move sets that they axed between the beta and the final release. So now this one is just kind of like breathes some new life into it. Like the pros are like discovering new like combos and stuff. So it's exciting to just kind of like see what this some of my main characters can do now, and kind of go and experiment and just run some sets. So we did that, and then Guilty Gear Strive is also has a new character called Testament, um, and they are very it's a non-binary character, um, and they are like really really cool. So me and Wallace were like running for like almost 2 hours last night just playing sets of Testament like back and back and just kind of like discovering the moves and stuff. So yeah, I'm in this fighting game mode right now. I'm just really enjoying it. I plan on getting back into some single player games. Probably this weekend, maybe. We'll see. There's a couple games that I want to like try and pick up. Mainly Ghostwire Tokyo. I know it's kind of like has middling reviews, but I like the team that does it. It's the Evil Within studio, Tango Gameworks. They're under Bethesda, so I really want to at least support them because I know their games are never that popular, very niche. So I just want to see more wacky games like that. So hopefully, I'm thinking about picking it up, and I know it's going to be on sale later, which is why I'm kind of in this predicament where it's like, I know it's going to go on sale, but I want to play it, and also I want to support them. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Like I said, I haven't really been playing as many games as I would like, but unfortunately, that's just being an adult.
True.
But I will say, DC Gaming Group as a whole, just kind of taking in like the health of the organization and all of that. We must say that DC Gaming Group is popping right now.
We are.
We're growing. We have a lot of good energy. We're doing in person events, and not only like official like big gatherings of DC Gamer Group members and stuff. We're also having um, other so I guess another news piece is that we have a new set of DC Gamer Group hosts, community hosts,
Hmm.
and we're gonna do a special episode of the podcast to just kind of introduce all of the new hosts and kind of talk to them about their backgrounds and gaming and what they how they got involved in DC Gamer Group just as a community member and all of that good stuff. So we'll have a special episode with that. But yeah, in terms of the overall like health of the organization, like everything is just popping. We just had a small D&D event that was hosted by Ren, the real not the real Ren Camelback of Liquor. We also have Rich, who hosted a movie night for Jujutsu Kaisen. And that also kind of goes into this weekend where we're also doing a small gathering hosted by Tanaquil in the DC Gamer Group Discord server. They're meeting up at Port City, which is over in Alexandria. This is going to be Saturday at Saturday, April 2nd at 6 p.m. There's going to be a few members that are going to meet up just for some dinner and drinks to hang out. Um, so that just kind of goes into, yeah, like DC Gamer Group. We're at this point where we've created an awesome space for just people to hang out and to meet one another, especially after we've had such a hard time with being kind of locked away during COVID. It's beautiful, man. Like so Justin, what are your thoughts on DC Gaming Group as a whole? Like what how far we've come?
It's too big. We gotta shut it down.
I
We're
know.
doing too much. No, I don't know. In a lot of ways, like it's good,
Yeah.
and I won't say it's bad, but like you know, like when you're invested in something, and then for whatever reason you gotta leave, and there's like a part in your brain that's like, I hope it fails.
Yeah.
Like, I hope
Yeah.
that I was that secret sauce that made it happen. I feel like we're learning that we aren't DCGG. That's the thing. We always said that, right? We are not DCGG.
Absolutely.
DCGG is the community,
Absolutely.
and it's never been more true. Like it's really proving
Absolutely.
that we are not important. We are there to keep the lights on. We
Yep.
are there to make sure, weirdos aren't being total weirdos to our community.
Yep.
We are there to do a lot of things behind the scenes, but in reality, we're very hands off,
Yep.
and it's continuing to grow. It's continuing to do things like an event that the event Tina Quill's event started off as a random like, hey, it would be fun to do this thing. People were just like, yeah, I'm there, I'm available, let's do it, blah blah blah. And then half an hour later, there was an event, there was a time, there was a place, there was a guest list. Boom. Like,
Yep.
and technically she's one of our new community hosts. And she made it happen.
Absolutely.
Like it's just like like that's amazing. So I, I don't know. It is. I say all that to say this is amazing. Uh, I guess it's in so many ways. My ego. I need to find a way to inject myself back into DCGG. What can I do? And I think it
I
comes. And
mean,
honestly, con season's coming up. That's our time to shine because we are the ones who get the tables, and you know we always get we are the faces, so we go out there, we make sure people join. um we host the events, we do the panels, uh which we are going to be bigger and better this year than we were last year. um yeah, it's just that it's I don't know, but then once con season's going to end, and there's going to be a whole new flux of people, and then we're going to
absolutely.
step back again and just let it grow. I don't know. It's like watching a I don't know, watching a dough ball proof, and it's just like, man, how big is this going to get? Maybe we use too much yeast. Um, I don't know. I wish people would start watching or listening to the podcast. Get those numbers up. How about that?
That'll happen. That's
You
just a
know.
matter. It's just a matter of time.
But
Um,
no, I'm loving it. I don't know. Like I said, but I do kind of have like this postpartum, kind of like, man, like did y'all not did you not love me? Did you not leave me? In reality, when we were 300 people, like one loud voice among 300 people was, a great deal. I'm the same volume. I'm just as loud as I always was, but now we're like looking at 600 people, and it's like, well, like if there's twice as many people, you're half as loud as you were before. Get that same, loudness. There's nothing I can do. So I love it. I hate it at the very same time, as
yeah.
Kanye said.
No, I mean it's and that's the thing. Like it really is. And even from the get go, that was like the whole thing was this is not this is really not about us. It's about a movement. It's about
Mm-hmm.
facilitating and getting this thought out there of, yeah, we're adults in DC and we like playing video games. Like, why don't we have any place to fucking hang out? And that's the hole that we're filling up. And a lot of people feel the same way. There's a lot of gamers here in DC, and it's just it was born out of frustration of the typical um menu of items to do in DC as a late 20 early 30-year old person, and whether you're single, married, or whatever, it was always like, here's this, you go to happy hour, you go to this, you do that. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but what about this fucking Elden Ring? I want to go talk to people about Elden Ring. I want to hear about their struggles with that shit. I want to play some fucking fighting games with people. I want to, that type of shit. So yeah, it's all about the movement, and it's all about the facilitation. People are I'm just happy that people really see the vision. That's really what I'm happy about. It's like, okay, cool, people get it. I'm not crazy, because I remember remember those days, like even at when I was at school, we tried to start a video game club at HBCU, which is fucking nuts. Back then it was
Hmm.
2010. Esports wasn't really. I mean, esports has always been a thing, but it wasn't like a buzzword yet. Um, so I just remember those times where people just. I remember I would never forget going to the fucking student activities office, and speaking with the person to facilitate and get the forms and all that stuff, to actually create a student organization. And I just remember her face. It was like, a video game club. Like, what? Like, what do you? So y'all are just gonna get together and play video games? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we're gonna do. And so I just remembered that, and it's like how far, you know, what is this? 12 years now, and just kind of seeing like where it's gone. And then that same organization that we started is now, they're participating in these nationwide esports things and all that stuff. Only thing I'm hoping is that they keep the casual nature of it as well. I don't want the whole thing to just be esports, because esports suck. And yeah, so I'm just, like I said, I'm glad that people are seeing what we're trying to do. We're tapping into a market that is being ignored. Which is weird, because you think about it, we have disposable income to play video games, but for some reason, like when we're being, there's no like, there's nothing for us outside of just like playing at home in our own place. And
Hmm.
it's like, dog, like we got money, we may not have as much time to play games, but it's a weird thing. It's always, it's like a young person's, it's kind of like a young person's thing, but it's really not. I mean, so I'm just glad that you know a lot of us haven't like put the sticks down, and just fell into adulthood. We're kind of keeping our young selves entertained. We
Hmm.
never let it go, which is great. And I think this is kind of like that first time where it's not weird to be a gamer as a 30 something year old, you know. Um, and thankfully, Um so yeah, all that to say, DC Gaming Group is awesome. Thank you all for just being part of the community. I've met some really cool people, and I'm super excited of what we have in store for y'all for the rest of 2022. The first of which is more in-person events. So, like we were saying before, we're getting in a good cadence of doing in-person events at Fat Pete's. Is going to be our first event in April. That's going to be on April 6th, 7 p.m. It's gonna be a really good time. As usual, Fat Pete's is an amazing venue and host. Just like to shout out Fat Pete's again. Like, they've graciously opened up the space for us, gave us all the things that we need to run a successful event. So yeah, like I said, thank you again, PJ at Fat Pete's. Um, and then we have Game Club this Sunday. Justin, we want to talk about what's going on with the club.
Let's see. So, excuse me. Tell you that sickness. Um, this Sunday, Game Club at 7 o'clock. Uh, we will be discussing the Talos Principle, made by Cryware, right?
mm,
It's a Serious Sam people. That's Cryware, right?
Crow Team.
Crow Team, Crow Team.
I don't
I
think they
made
actually made it though. Let me see. I think they just used the engine. Oh no, no, you're right. No, they made it.
Yeah. Uh, let's see. So yeah, it's it's an interesting game. I actually am curious. I think I might, you know what? I think I might leverage one of our community hosts and see what Josh Prep on the Discord, see see what he's up to, because he's very excited about the game. I think he really championed it. Uh, it might have been his first time playing it, but he got really into it. He made that very clear in the Discord. He was, keeping up, letting people know his progress, and really getting into, all the interesting. I don't even know. It's a very it's a very interesting game. It's a puzzle game about existentialism and what does it mean to be human and a bunch of good stuff. So I think I might tap him and at least have him co-host. The game club event would be a good idea. Like we have these community hosts for a reason, right? Like
Absolutely.
they wanna they want to be more. They want to be a bigger part of the things going on. That's why they volunteered. This is the perfect opportunity. So I don't know. I not to spoil my thoughts or anything. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as others. One of the reasons why I'm thinking about tapping somebody else, uh, someone who did enjoy it. But I'm curious to see how the talk goes. Um, that being said, of course, because the game club is coming up, the poll for next month's game is already gone out. There's been a lot of really good voting, uh, big numbers actually. I might also talk to the amount of people who have joined recently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if the game that is winning now stays winning, which I think it will, I think we're in for an interesting game uh, next month. Going back to our uh, very heavily narrative roots,
Mm.
very much you playing through a story. Um, and it's a game that I've been looking at for a while, so it'll be fun to play. So that's a little tease to Sunday evening when I will reveal the new game.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I know which one that is. That's gonna win out. When I looked at that list, I was like, yeah, there's no way these other ones are gonna win.
Yeah,
Absolutely not. Um.
but hey, I pick them randomly, and sometimes some games just get they get punished, they get beat up on,
Absolutely.
which is a shame because Towerfall is there, and I was curious about Towerfall because I was like, I wonder how this is going to go. Because if it wins, what happens? Do we get together? Do we make a game? Like, and this is the thing for the future as well. Like, if the game is primarily like a fun multiplayer, like little arcade game, do we take a weekend and just be like, hey, this is a game club slash arcade mode weekend game, and we're just gonna play it?
I th-
And like have fun, keep your thoughts to yourself, and then we'll just come back together. And who knows, maybe we'll play it multiple times. Maybe we'll do it. We'll have a session, every weekend, or we'll every well, I don't know, we'll do a Thursday or something, and then when game club finally happens, we can all get together and finally be like, oh man, like I had so much fun playing with you guys, and let me tell you why, and blah blah blah. So I don't know. I'm curious. I Game Club is a lot like DCGG. Is turning into something that I was not expecting.
mm-hmm.
Um, Especially because, like I told you, like the last Game Club before Slay the Spire quickly turned into people just meeting each other, um, and just introducing each other. And we had a couple new members who were there who was like, hey, like I don't know everybody here, but I like you people. Let's talk.
Yeah.
And some of those people now are They are for sure coming to Fat Pete's, and some of them are going to the dinner that Tentacle set up. So like that I didn't expect that for Game Club. I thought Game Club was going to be all about the games, but then like a lot of those kind of clubs, a book club or something, it really just is an excuse to get people together who like
That's
each
all
other,
it
who
is.
they're just going to hang out and talk about other things, and like you're supposed to be talking about the book, but we're just drinking wine and gossiping at this point. So like if that's what it turns into, that's fine. Except for when there's a game that I really want to talk about, and like, hey guys, this is a great game. Can we talk about this game?
Yeah.
Um, but I'll probably bring that energy to those game clubs anyway. Uh, I don't know personally. If this game club turns into a meet and greet, that's fine. Also, it's going to be cut short because the Jackbox event is happening an hour
Oh,
afterward.
that's actually a good segue. Like coming from game club, jumping right into a game. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
So I
awesome.
think I think a lot of people will just because you don't need to have Jackbox, you just need to have your phone. I think that might just turn into, oh well, I wasn't going to go to the Jackbox event, but I've had a great time here, and why not? If I don't need
Absolutely.
to do anything, if I just need to at the same time that I was going to spend here, I might as well just spend over there with my phone in my hand, talking to people and playing a game. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it might work out for the best.
Absolutely. And that's honestly it's our roots. I mean, remember like we used to do Sundays, we used to have a whole at the peak of COVID, we had a whole list of activities for the weekend.
Yeah,
It's
Friday was Players Club, Saturday was Jackbox, Sunday was Among Us,
yep,
and that was every single Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
absolutely. So
And that
we're
was man, that was some fun times. That was some
absolutely
fun times.
and we're slowly but surely now that we have because the problem was that it was us. It was only us that were
Yes,
that were hosting. So
yes.
now that we have a awesome team of community hosts, now that we can offer more DC gaming DC gaming group curated events, has that DC gaming group seal of approval.
Yeah.
Um, because that's the other thing and that's one of the things that we're working on too as a staff is making sure that I mean, not you don't have to wait for us to, you don't have to wait for the DC Gaming Group official events to like meet people. Like we have open channels, open voice channels to for you to, um, basically meet up with people, play games, talk to one another. Like it's all there for you. And I know from our standpoint, we just have to do a better job in terms of communicating that and making sure people feel comfortable doing that. Because we know it's intimidating. I mean, I'm part of other Discord servers and stuff. I'm not and if they have open channels too, I'm not going to just click in there and what I'm saying. Um, because I honestly I just don't know the vibe. So I know that there's a comfortability thing that we have to
Hmm.
make sure that people just feel comfortable doing that and understand that it's there for you to do that. So um, yeah, and it just goes back to what we were saying. DCGG is just popping. Everything is popping. Um, so yeah, that's Game Club. Make sure it's Sunday. Sunday at 7. Is it 7?
Yes.
Yep, Sunday at 7, and as you were saying, there's Jackbox shortly after that, which is at what time?
That's at 8.
That's at 8. Got you. Okay, so yeah, Sunday we got some stuff for you to come and hang out, meet some folks. Even if you haven't played the Talos Principle, if you just want to hear about it, it's a cool way to just kind of hop in and hear other people's take on it, hear what their experiences, and then after that, jump right into some Jackbox. And who doesn't like Jackbox?
Who doesn't like Jackbox?
Absolutely. Um, all right. So, and then the last thing, we're just gonna tease. We're not gonna talk too much about it. Which is our May the 4th event. We did a May the 4th event virtually, but this year we actually have a venue to do something in. So, we look out for more details on that. Justin, I know you're a big Star Wars fan, so this is where you this is your baby. This is you and Ren. Yeah, like I think y'all are the big Star Wars fans. So um, I know that you got some awesome stuff cooked up for us.
Yeah, I am very excited for this. I remember I made a cocktail last year. I actually made a video to go with the cocktail that I made. I didn't ever figure out how to upload it, so
Mm,
I just still have that around somewhere. I should find that. Um, but yeah, I am curious to see how this one goes. Uh, I would love for it to really stay a lot of the Fat Pete's format that we have, just Star Wars themed, uh, which can be possible. It's just going to take a lot more planning.
absolutely.
So if you enjoyed what we're doing before, but you would like it, a little bit force themed,
No
you
pun
should,
intended.
yeah, you should definitely come out. We're gonna have a great time. And our boy PJ is also a giant Star Wars fan,
Oh, absolutely.
so
Yep.
I think that he would also. Oh my God, my brain is going. Okay,
Yeah,
I already have
it's
one
gonna be
idea.
nuts. It's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be nuts. So
Yeah,
stay tuned. Stay tuned. Make sure you're following us on social and you are following us on Meetup, and also join our Discord if you haven't done so yet. So we got a lot of news for DC Gaming Group. DC Gaming Group is popping, but is our video games popping right now? Are you as a gamer, like, how are you feeling? Do you feel like the video game hype? How I want to take a temperature on it, and this kind of comes from two things that kind of dropped this week. The first one being Sony came out with their supposed like Game Pass competitor. So this is their service where they're consolidating PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now. PlayStation Plus is basically the service that you get if you want to play games online, and then every month you get I think like 4 games for free, varying on different platforms. So like you can get well, they used to do a lot more when they were giving out free games for Vita, but the Vita is dead, unfortunately. Um, but now you get a PS4 game, PS5 game. So they usually give you the dependence on, like, I think it's like 2 to 4 maybe. Um, so so PlayStation Plus is that. PlayStation Now is the actually it is basically like Game Pass, where you can play the big selling point before they morphed it into what it is now is that you can play backwards compatible. You can play PS1, PS2, PS3 games in the cloud. Over time, they've started morphing the service into what we see as Game Pass, where you can't download PlayStation 3 games because the hardware just isn't there. That's another unfortunate thing. Um, but you can download PS4 games, PS5 games, all of that stuff. So it is, in a sense, Game Pass. So the announcement or the rumors leading up to this, and they rumored this since like December of last year, and the rumor is that they're flushing out a uh more features to this offering to compete with Game Pass. And so now the it's official that PlayStation Now is no longer going to be a thing. It's just going to be consolidated into PlayStation Plus. Now, PlayStation Plus has different tiers, starting with a very basic one, which is what we, as PlayStation owners, what we have now. Then they have some more advanced ones where you get more access to library games. You get such and such. And then I think the most advanced ones, you get everything. And then I think you also get like game trials or something like that. Um, so that was big news, but I think I don't know if it was uh, were we eh, were you expecting more from this?
Uh, I mean, yes and no. Yes, because if you were going to be a competitor to Game Pass, there's a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
Because like we've kind of gotten used to Game Pass
Yeah,
to the point that we're like you don't really think about how amazing it really is.
for
Because when
sure.
you also factor in like EA Play is in there. You also factor in that if it's a game on Game Pass, you can buy it at a discount. Like there's just there's so many parts to Game Pass that we don't like think about anymore. We did, we were constantly talking about them. There was that constant thing of Game Pass is the best deal in gaming. Like you kept saying it over and over again, no matter how true it was. But so I said, like, I would say yes because of that. No, but I was also saying no because it's Sony.
Yeah.
And like I feel like every time we do this, I gotta keep saying it. I am a Sony fan. I'm more of a Sony guy than I am a Microsoft guy. Out there, I have a PS5. I don't have any kind of series anything. That will be changing somewhat soon. I was gonna get an S. I think I'm just gonna break down and get an X. Like, what am I doing? Just get the X.
It's funny that you said that. It's readily available right now.
Yeah, right. It
It's
it is. It
which is
is.
really, it's such an odd thing. I'm so used to I think I'm so scorned from that whole experience of having to, try to find these consoles and order
Mm-hmm.
them and play this. Like if it's up for more than 5 minutes, you're
Yeah.
already
You're already too late, man.
way too late. And it's so interesting just seeing, like, I just click on the store page just to like look at it and be like, oh man, it's actually available. You can actually add it to your cart. There's no like click, and it's like you see the little spinner, and you're like, and then it's just like, up, no, gone. It's like, ah, fucking shit. And then you see, now you just click on it and you just add it. It's in your cart, and you're like, this can't be real. Um, yeah, we're making progress on that front. But PS5s are still like, I mean, it's PlayStation, so they're
Yeah.
that's it's, you can't compete with that brand loyalty.
You really can.
You know,
And I'm sitting here saying, I'm praising, Microsoft, damning Sony, but once again, I still consider if gun to head, it's like if you can only have one system, for the rest of your life. Sony, like like that's just how I am.
yeah,
Um, I don't know how long that's going to be because value is one thing, but like games are another. We're getting off track. We're not going down that path. But yes, to answer your question, yes and no for those reasons. That being said, I think that Sony's offering is not bad by any stretch of the imagination.
yeah.
It takes the shit out of what what
It's
uh
Nintendo.
what Nintendo got going on. Um,
uh,
Even though I love Nintendo, I now will never get rid of my Nintendo. Um, I don't know. Your thoughts.
I feel the same way. I think it's fine. And we're still months out from when it's dropping. It's supposed to drop in June, so we're gonna get more information as it comes forward. But I think the biggest thing for me was like, well, what are those? I mean, they gave you the quantity of games that are gonna be in there, but like, what are those games? That's the kind of thing that I'm like, okay, I know I have like, a bunch of games that like if this on there and it's like, oh, purchase. So I think that I just want to learn more about that part. I'm down for the. I think the other thing I know a lot of people were hoping that we're gonna be able to natively play PlayStation 3 games on PS5. I wasn't surprised that that's really not going to be a thing. Maybe it's still a possibility in the future, because there is a precedent now where there's this you can play. There's a PS3 emulator on PC called RC PS3. I think that's the name of it. And so the precedent is out there that there are people that literally know how to emulate the PS3. So it's a possibility that a form of that can be ported over to PlayStation 5 as, a software, a firmware update, or just the application in general. It could just be its own thing. So I will. So I'm not. Uh, I know that's a possibility in the future. The stopgap, of course, is just to stream and do how we've been doing for the last few years with PS3 games on modern consoles like PS4 or PS5, which use PlayStation Now to just stream that. So that part I wasn't. I know people were upset and it was like, oh, I'm not gonna support it if we can't do that. I was like, well, that's y'all set yourself up. You set yourself
Yeah,
up for that disappointment.
yeah.
Um, so that part, and then yeah, PS1, PS2, and the thing that stuck out to me is PSP games. Like I'm down for that. There's a bunch of PSP games I want to go back and play.
Are
So
you going to?
I'm going to that. Yeah, there's a few games that have been on my backlog that I wouldn't mind like going back and playing. It just depends on like what those games are. Um, like if it's because I even on the Vita, I started like playing a bunch of like PSP games. That was the beautiful thing of the Vita was that you can play PSP games on there via the PSP Classics or whatever they call that shit. Um, so yeah, I just having that, just being available and the convenience of that. Is it going to replace like my rotation of games? No, definitely not. Definitely not. But it's a good thing. Like I've been, like I said, and this kind of goes to the idea of this topic was um a modern gaming. I'm just not hyped, and I've been going backwards, and I've been finding and filling in those gaps over the years that I wasn't able to play, and most recently the as we were saying before, the Ninja Gaiden series, like I never played it. I don't know why I didn't, but it was a game I was like, you know what, I wouldn't mind going back to a classic, hack and slash action adventure game. I don't want to play a fucking action adventure game that's another Dark Souls clone, or it has its
Hmm.
open world and you have to do all this crafting and then this. I'm like,
RPG elements, or
yeah,
does no? Yeah, that Ninja Gaiden doesn't have the RPG
hell
elements.
no, hell no. The only thing that only type of upgrades you get is like you upgrade your
Your
weapon,
health, right?
your health, and then like
Yeah,
your magic, and that's it. And you get that over just collecting orbs, just like how you
yeah.
did.
Playing the game.
Exactly, exactly. So it was that part was a breath of fresh air where I don't have to fucking like I can be playing the game, but I don't have to be like immersed. I know that's like a big selling point with games, like you want to be immersed. It's like I don't I just don't have the mental, like I'm so tired at the end of the day. Like I don't want to have to think playing video games. I know that sounds terrible, but I really I think for a living, and that shit is when I sit down and play, I just want to be a fucking badass in a game. I want to escape as a and being a badass and doing awesome shit. Like I want to be in a video game. I
Hmm.
don't want to be in a fucking cinematic movie, and just I don't want to be in a game that's trying to mimic being a movie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I've been at, and so that's honestly where I just haven't been hyped on a lot of these like AAA games. Like they have all these like cinematography, cinematics and this and that. They're really just trying to like chase that movie thing. I'm just like, dog, you're a video game. Like, why are we ashamed of that? Like, why can't we just embrace that video games are awesome? And I think it just kind of goes back to that. Um, that thing of like where when we talk to our parents, we can say like, "Oh yeah, video games are considered art now." So now you can't talk down to me about my video game habits. And it's like, dog, like who cares what our parents think? They're never gonna understand it. If they don't understand it now, they're never gonna understand it. So are we still trying to um why are we still trying to have an Oscar for video games? It's like we can do our own thing. We've been doing our own thing. We are the numbers don't lie. We are the most successful form of entertainment, not even close. And that's why can't we just be, why can't we just embrace that? So all that to say, PlayStation, the PlayStation plus um it was and then in the fact that it was how it was revealed, like there was no like it was just a blog post. It was like, oh, here's our stuff, and here's a an excerpt from Jim Ryan, who is the probably like the most unhype figurehead. And I know that's not his job. His job is to make money for the company. I know that. But goddamn, can we get some sort of like, can we get another like Reggie Fils-Aimé, or can we get even a fictional character like that Butler?
Butler.
Yes.
I
Like,
couldn't say his first name.
Kevin
Kevin.
Butler.
Kevin Butler.
Um just something to just lighten up, like, because it's like at the end of the day I was like, of course these are businesses, these are billion-dollar companies, but at the end of the day these are video games, and there's a certain playfulness that I know we're all adults, but we still enjoy that. We're kids of the 90s. Like we grew up on these crazy, video game ads and magazines where it's all colorful and just happy, exudes happiness. And now it's just like, I don't know, it's missing that piece. Like how do you feel overall about just the hype level of video games? Or what do you get excited about these days when it comes to video games?
You know, I'm sure if we had like, and I talk about like our viewership, and one day we will, have this giant viewership, and everyone will love us, and we'll be invited to the VGAs. But for right now, we don't. But if we did have a regular audience, I'm sure I would be getting shit about like, this man plays no games. Why is he? Why is he
Oh
on this
yeah,
podcast?
absolutely,
And the
yeah.
thing is, like, I have really over time found, like, put myself in a position where, like, I'm only playing the stuff that I know for 100% going into it that I'm gonna like.
Absolutely. Me too. I've
And
doubled down on that.
yeah, and that's one of the reasons why Game Club is so important, because it forces me to play games that I would never play, and it also is really forcing me to play and beat a game a month.
Yes. Yep.
Like, I don't. I would say the majority of gamers can say that. I'm sure there's a lot of gamers who play a lot more games than I do. I'm sure there's a lot of gamers who, you know, they put in hours and hours and hours, but like, how many games are you actually finishing? How many games are you actually beating? And I know that's not the metric for every gamer, and there's no metric for every gamer, and there shouldn't be a metric for every gamer because that's not how games work. But I'm also not going to sit here and say that my metric is winning, beating games, but like, it is something that I can say now. I'm playing and beating a game every month.
Yep.
Um, but that being said, things like, I can't get hype anymore.
Yeah.
As we were talking before, we started rolling, and I honestly, and I can't, there's nothing, no science to back this up. But something that is really stuck with me are these games that are hyping themselves and telling you should be hyped. Like, get hype.
Yeah.
Like they're grabbing you by the shoulders and they're shaking you and telling you this is the best, biggest thing ever. And then they come out and like, the graphics aren't what they were, but because hey, there were CG trailers for the first 6 trailers. How are you going to know what it looked like? The gameplay isn't good. It's a buggy mess. There's a giant day one patch, and if you don't live in a place with great internet, which is most of America, Like you're just gonna like, you got the game that day, but you're not playing it until tomorrow. Sorry. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you saw what
you know,
happened with Gran Turismo 7.
yeah,
Like,
you know, like,
ridiculous.
Gran Turismo, like a game that has been around since PlayStation has been around. Gran
Absolutely.
Turismo and
Synonymous with
PlayStation
PlayStation.
are linked. You know,
Absolutely.
they are one and the same, and they came out, as a pretty much a buggy mess. Um, so I don't know. I blame, but I can pinpoint myself down to one game that really broke me, and that I have not been able to get so hyped ever since. And that was, so like I said, it was made by BioWare. I'm a big Mass Effect guy. Mass Effect, Jade Empire, KOTOR, and Dragon Age, all of them. I love BioWare. Made by them. Uh, you got it looked like you get to be Iron Man flying through the sky, shooting rockets. There were classes. There was so much just wrapped up into this perfect little package, and I'm like, this is my game. This is someone reached into my head and pulled out a game, and and now they're making it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it came out, and I am so glad that I made this decision because I was so hyped that I was following it so closely. And I started hearing things that I was like, okay, maybe I need to pull back on this. I canceled my pre order. I was still had the money set aside. So, when reviews did come out, if the things I was hearing were things I can live with, because I don't need all my games to be 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
Like some of my favorite games are not 10 out of 10s. I'm
absolutely.
the person who loves the first Mass Effect. Anyone will tell you the best Mass Effect is, Mass Effect 2. Love the first Mass Effect though.
Mm-hmm.
Like you necessarily need 10 out of 10, games for me to love a game. But Anthem wasn't even a 7 out of 10. Like it was a total mess.
Yeah.
So I really, from there, I think I really took a step back from, letting these game companies get me whipped up, in the way that they want me to be whipped up, to just then reactively spend a bunch of money on what they want me to spend a bunch of money on, for me to just be disappointed, and then for them to have my money. Like it's too late for that. I guess you can get a refund, maybe. Depending on
Depend on
where you bought
platform.
it, how you
Yep.
bought it, how long it's been, how much you played it. Did you get it physical? Did you get it digital? Like there's like a lot of factors that go into that.
Yep.
So I don't know. So I have been, to answer your question about hype. The things that get me excited are the things that I know. I just know that they're going to be weird. They're going to be quirky because they're not going to be mainstream. I knew I was going to love Triangle Strategy.
Yeah.
They gave me a demo. And I got to play it. Like, it was Final Fantasy Tactics for 2022, and I'm loving it. Um, I'm looking forward to Midnight Suns, which I know it looks pretty big budget, but I know for a fact that it is not going to be a mainstream smash. But also for Axis, they not necessarily do that. They did Civ, they did XCOM.
Mm-hmm.
They know where their bread is buttered. I really hope that they don't try to go that big mainstream. I hope they cater to the people that have always been there for them. Um, and then but then of course there are the big ticket items that can't miss. Like God of War Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think. There's been then there's IPs. Like there's like the Harry Potter game. There's the like anything that's Star Wars themed. There's going to be certain things that are going to be like going to catch my eye.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as hype goes, I don't know if I get hype anymore. Like I don't think that I don't think video games have earned, like they did for a while, for a good long while. They earned that hype from me. Not so much anymore.
Let
Like
me
it's well,
let
go
me
ahead.
let me ask you this. What generation were you the hypest?
Ooh. So I have two answers to this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna be kind of cheat. I want to kind of cheat. I'm gonna say that that PS2, Xbox, GameCube generation,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't have money to spend like that. So while
Yes.
I was very hype, that hype was not turning into money, being spent. I was, we were in high school
Yeah.
then, so like, yeah. But when I did have a little bit of money, and I was, like that hype meant a little, like it was a little bit different when you knew that you were also going to get that game that you were hyped for, not just look at it. Um, was the 360.
That was
what was
definitely.
360 era for me, because that's what I was gaming on the most.
Yep.
But that, the PS3, 360, that I'll just leave it at that. The PS3 to 360.
Yeah.
Uh, because yeah, like no, I was buying everything,
Me too. Yep.
for my 360. If it looked even kind of good, I was pre-ordering. Those were the good days of the midnight releases.
Yep. The hype, like the physical hype.
Yes,
There's
yes.
none of that anymore. There's no more midnight releases. I mean, kinda. With I think the latest ones was like Pokemon Arceus. I think some video game stores were doing midnight releases for that. But few and far between these days.
Hmm. But I don't know. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that like I know that I'm so busy. The fact to the point to where like I could get excited for a game, but I know I'm not going to be able to play it, right away.
Yeah.
Like I have more money now than I've ever had in my entire life, and I'm spending less money on games than I did when
I
I
know.
when I was in college.
That is the that is the give and take, you know. I would say for me, definitely it was the 360 PS3 era, simply because college you had ways to um, uh, buy games and then also play games. So it was kind of like the perfect mix of like, and then on top of that, I was surrounded by gamers. So it
Hmm.
was like, it was like the perfect gaming space to be in, where you had all of these elements just kind of come into one. It's what I dreamed of when I was a kid, of like what it meant to really be like an adult and play games for however long you want to and not have too many responsibilities outside of like just get the fuck out of college. Um, and so I think that that definitely was the hypest, but the secondary generation for me was definitely it's more in between. It's, I would say, the the transition between like the towards the end of the PS1 into PS2, and then in between that, the Dreamcast. Like
Oh wow.
that like bridge, like that little that stretch of time of like,
Hmm.
okay, we farewell to PS1, farewell to N64, Dreamcast. What the fuck is this? This is amazing. And then PS2 of just like, we are in the future. Like, so I think that that was like the other like pivotal moment in like the gaming space. But so I think the one thing that really, of those generations that we talked about, the one thing that was hype was E3. E3 was like
Yeah.
the that 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 moment of the year where we are seeing what we're gonna be able to play within the next year or so, and the hype around it, the coverage, you know, just hearing, like, I remember even before I was like heavily involved on the internet and all that, and I remember talking to my cousins and like talking about the rumors and all the stuff that was announced, that at E3. I mean, it was just hype, and it was really hype in 360, PS3, like in the middle of that generation. It was so hype. And that's where you can kind of like that's when like the you can just tune in, you can stream E3. I mean, because E3
Hmm.
wasn't really it was never really covered real time, especially in the like early 2000s, late 90s. It was always you had to wait for the magazine to hear about all the things that were announced, all the rumors and blah blah blah, all that shit. It was never like it was kind of like this oh shit like, and then I was like that was especially it was very special if you got to go to E3 because there was no public E3. It was like you had to be in the gaming industry to be at E3. And if you get a pass, that means you're cool. You have access. So even that part of it, the exclusivity of E3. Um, so now I mean E3 is has I would say the last generation really hasn't been a huge factor. Um, and now this year they've confirmed earlier this year they confirmed that they're not going to do an in-person E3, and now today they announced that E3 is officially the virtual presence is not going to be a thing this year too.
Yeah,
So,
I did not see that coming. If I'm being honest.
I saw it coming. Honestly, I didn't think that they were. I don't think that they really know what they wanted to do with E3 this year, which is why it was even before like COVID situation got better. They already just was like, yeah, no, we're not even gonna do a physical. So I knew then I was like, damn, they didn't even like wait it out. So I knew it was like, okay. So it seems like they just this year they just want to take it off completely. So I really wasn't surprised that that they weren't going to do the virtual. But
I read that as, you know, we're not doing a physical because we're really going to make this digital thing happen. That's how I read it. So that's why I
nah,
was so shocked. But you know,
it seemed
hey,
like they didn't have a plan at all. I don't think they. I think that
clearly,
they're just like yeah. We're 2022. It's gonna that's we're not here. So yeah. So E3 2022 is a wash. So what in terms of has there been anything to kind of fill that void? Because even when E3 was still functioning, um, we could kind of feel that we don't get that same hype level for it. So has there been anything that's replaced it to where we can say, all right, like I'm looking forward to this. I know that there's gonna be some some major reveals. Has it anything taken that hype? Uh, I guess conduit has anything like really taken its place?
you know, the great beast that was E3 has been chopped up into pieces and
Yeah,
spread amongst the spread out the land, and is
absolutely.
turned into you know, Nintendo Directs and State of Plays.
Do you question on that? Do you prefer that we get like bites of information throughout the year as opposed to having it all just in that one period of time?
I mean, I honestly like before we had State of Plays and we had Nintendo Directs, there was like this wonderful balance where we had both. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like we would get those Nintendo Directs, and then there would always be a big Nintendo Direct. You know, well, there was like a Nintendo, you know, conference just like all the other conferences. But then they got after a while there was like, you know what, we're just going to do a big Nintendo Direct for these, which
Mm-hmm.
I also liked because I like that Nintendo Direct format. And you know, we were getting both. You know, Nintendo was cranking out so much stuff that it was like, you know what, we can do these little things throughout the year, then something big over here. Um, and I don't, you know, honestly, it makes more sense to get a lot of cool announcements over the course of a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that, and I'm pretty sure this is just like nostalgia speaking, but I miss E3. You
Yeah,
know,
me
like
too. Yeah, it was a moment
or
where we all as gamers collectively can get together and just and talk about games and what's coming out and the different hype moments, and
Yeah.
it was a thing. It was a whole week of just craziness.
Mhm. It was an all week and an all day affair. I mean,
Yeah.
you could, because I mean, I was the kind of person where I was like, if I saw a game and I was really excited about that game, I was making sure I was seeing it every single time it was showed on, the Giant Bomb stage, or
Yep.
the Kind of Funny
IGN.
stage, the GameSpot stage, the IGN stage. Like if it was being shown, I was there because at some point, one of those ones, they'd be like, hey, we're going to show you something new that we haven't showed you before. And if you didn't watch all of those, you weren't going to see that thing that, they only showed it on the IGN stage. Like I don't know, they were friends with Greg Miller, so they only showed it on the Kind of Funny stage.
Yeah.
Like, I guess Kind of Funny was always with somebody else. I forget exactly who, but that's beside the point. Um, so I do kind of miss that.
Yeah.
Uh, Especially the times, and it was rare, but like the times where I was actually be able to physically get together with friends
Yeah.
and be in the same room and watch it with other people who were excited about things, and we would all groan when, I don't know, Pele walked into the stage and we're like, no one cares, like we're not here for FIFA.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
get back to the other stuff. Or we didn't want to see Carrie Perry,
Or Just Dance.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Katy Perry talk about, well, sing a song for Just Dance,
Ugh.
but at the same time, that also gave us like Left Shark, and and like we love Left Shark, and Left Shark became a meme, and like there's just certain things, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I will miss it. And I say that we were talking about it like it's dead already, but like, do you come back from this?
I think
Like, do
I
you?
mean E3 is still you gotta think like is however we feel about E3 is still a brand, is still recognized, is there's unless I mean there's still meat on the bone. I think
Hmm.
people are very I think they're jumping the gun in terms of um if E3 as a whole is dead. I think that there's still that brand recognition. There's still um, an a pseudo government based organization that is behind it, has connections. I just think that the E3 that we know and love is dead, but I don't think E3 itself will be dead. I think
Hmm.
it'll transform if they're smart. They've tried. They've had their the model is there. They just basically need to do a America Gamescom, where they're able to
Yes.
basically do the industry stuff, but also make it a public event as well. And that's what Gamescom does so well. Um, so that's they have the model there. They just need to execute. Um, so I don't think that it's going to be dead. I just think that the way that we know as E3 is dead. The E3 that we grew and loved because what's the incentive for? Because that's what Sony and Nintendo proved, right? They were like, "Yo, why are we paying millions of dollars to be, granted a space, to be seen where we can just go direct to consumer? We have we don't need any. There's no middleman anymore. We can go directly to consumer."
Yeah.
And so it just financially just it made way more sense to focus on that than to have to pay millions of dollars to be on the same stage as all your other competition. So
Yeah, I mean,
um
YouTube has basically become a source of news now because they
oh,
just
absolutely,
a lot
social
of a lot
media
of
in
these places
general.
they just drop a thing on YouTube.
Yeah, social media in general. You just drop a thing on Twitter. That's what they
Yeah,
did
it's going
for.
to get around.
Yeah, that's what they did for the uh PlayStation Plus. They basically
Yeah,
it was like, here's what we're doing. I know y'all have been talking, rumor and blah blah blah, but here's our official thing. Dropped it on Twitter, and then from there you had everybody else just like report on it, react to it. and then that just created its own hype, and it just spread. So it's like one Twitter post, you get all of that exposure, as opposed to if you did that at E3, it's millions of dollars, a lot of time, a lot of man hours to put something like that together. Um, so yeah, it just so that concept is just dead, but there's still something there if they're able to pivot and execute and to kind of maybe recapture some sense of hype. But I think, like you said, like we're just way more savvy as consumers. We we've been burned numerous times throughout the years, and really like most recently. I mean, we've had a lot of major AAA just bombs. Like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, so yeah, I mean, so we, like you said, we temper our excitement because we do not want to be disappointed, because we've been disappointed, we've been burned, we've been ripped off, you know.
Oh yes.
So
Because they knew what they were doing.
exactly. So I would say, as me personally, I'm when it comes to the AAA space, the mainstream game sphere, I am not as hype. I'm not as easily wowed by 4K graphics and high fidelity. None of that stuff wows me. These days, it's all about gameplay. How quickly can I jump in a game and have fun without having to jump through your artificial obstacles to pad the gameplay to make it 120 hours as opposed to 50 hours. I just this that game is just not. I just it doesn't. None of these games do that for me anymore. And my focus is really shifted towards the indie space. And you have to do. Unfortunately, I mean, it takes a little bit more work, but it's worth it. I will always say, like, the one game that I was like super obsessed with the last couple years was Hunt Down. I mean, that
Yeah.
game was such a fucking. It's a small ass game. Is so it just came out of nowhere, and I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, that is. And the soundtrack, the visuals, the gameplay, the ridiculous, the being set in like this cyberpunk 80s dystopian mishmash of warriors, Judge Dredd, Running Man, all those ridiculous ass movies from the 80s, all of that just mixed into one little package. And I fell in love with it so much so that bought it 3 times. Even got the physical. Like this, in that game, what probably cost maybe less than definitely less than $10 million to make it. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's just, but it had that heart, had the it was simple, it was easy to pick up and play. It just had personality and swag, which a lot of these games just really just don't have. They're just these massive undertakings of like, we added these features because we just wanted to check off a box, to justify the $70 price tag. So
Hmm.
that's where that we boil down to, and I'm just not a big fan of it right now. And then you throw on top of that games as a service is, they require more and more time, and it's like, to get to the fun parts, you need to spend hundreds of hours and or tens of hours I'm like, I don't have that time. I don't have the desire. I don't want games to be another job. I just want it to be, um, where I can have fun and be this other character for, X amount of time and do awesome shit. And they just they don't want to give you that. They just they
Yeah.
want your money.
Yeah.
Which I understand. It's a business, but
Yeah.
goddamn.
Yeah.
But don't, like,
And,
you gotta
it's always been that way, but it didn't always feel that way.
exactly, you gotta dress it up. It's like, it's like, you have to play it up. You have to we know this is business. We know that you don't care. You really don't care. But just act like you care.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's all we're
Just
asking.
just give me the girlfriend experience. That's all I want.
Exactly. Exactly.
I know you're not my girlfriend, but just make me feel like you
Exactly.
are.
Make me feel good.
Make me feel good. Oh no.
So so yeah, anything else you want to add to that? This whole our we're like we're like the boomer gamers now.
Oh my god. It's happened.
I know, right?
Um, no, man. I think we've talked about this enough.
For sure.
I liked it though. This was good. This was a good conversation. You know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely something I've been like back and forth about. It's just like, man, like gaming is just like the gaming is still fun. Like there's still a lot of fun ass games, but just like the things around it, it's just not fun anymore. It's like it's weird. It's just missing that other dimension to gaming, like the magazines, the artwork, the you buy a new game physical and you open it up, you got the book is there. It's just like missing like part of like that part of it. And I know
Yeah.
that, and I you know we're definitely victims of our what do you call it, of the era that we grew up in. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
so of course, like a lot of it is just nostalgia, but there was something to it. There's something to that, and I think that's we're missing it, and we can easily, and like I said, I think indie games have really been the ones that have maintained that spirit, but unfortunately, like they don't have the reach that AAA does. So you just got to do a little bit extra work to find these experiences and stuff. So
You know, and I will say, you actually made me think. I never made this connection before. If you do miss that ritual of, like the physical box, and you open it up, and then you read the book and all that good stuff, board gaming.
that is
Board
true.
gaming is giving that to me. I did not make that connection until
Wow,
just
that is
now.
true.
Literally every single time I get in a new game, I do get to take off that plastic wrap. And the very first thing I'm doing is taking out the rule book and reading the rules. Like, is that? I'm wondering if that is what is like triggering my
Oh,
brain.
that makes sense. That really makes
Oh my
sense. I think we
god!
made a revelation, right? I think
I think
we
I think you maybe just put something together. Hmm,
absolutely.
hmm.
That makes sense. That makes total sense. Cause yeah, you're basically like every time you get a board game, that's like a fucking Christmas present.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole fucking like thing to it, and that's exactly how gaming used to be. It used to be a thing of like you do this, you get the game, you open it, crack the seal, and you open the game and the instructions. You read it all the way until you're at home. You memorize all the controls, and you do this and this. You get home, you pop open the fucking PlayStation, you pop the lid, pull the thing out. It's hard to get out the goddamn case because it's so goddamn new, and so you gotta like put a little extra thing and pop it out and put it in the PlayStation. Hear that click, you close
Oh,
it.
that click.
You close it, you push on the game, and sometimes like when I remember when my PlayStation started like fucking up, which was a very sad moment. Which this definitely has to be a topic where we talk about
Oh my god.
broken systems and how
We should. We totally should.
yes but yes, that is a good point. The board games definitely offer that physical um experience. So I that's awesome, man. That is awesome. But all that to say, like I said, video. This is part. It's still as much as we're talking about what we don't enjoy about video games right now. There's still the best time to play video games. You have so
Oh,
much
without a doubt.
options, so many different types of games. There's a game for everybody. So we want to end it off on a positive note. But yeah, thank you all for joining us this week. This was awesome. It's great to be back. Um, Again, my name is Not Cirque, and real name is Creston. So Not Cirque, Creston spelled backwards, as I like to say. And yeah, Justin, where can we? Oh, what? We got to talk about your name. What's your clue for the week?
Oh my! I think I might have done it all. I think. I can go back to the reason why it's so long. So, when I was in high school, my the two friends that I played most of my games with, they had really cool names. Well, they were cool for a high schooler or high school boy video game like screen names. One was uh Ryu the Burninator because he was really into fighting games, and Ryu was like his character, and
Why when you said the Burninator, I immediately went to um
Trogdor.
no, I immediately went
No?
to like STD. I was like, is
Oh,
Ryu has a STD? He's out here burning?
oh shit! Oh my god. Okay, you got me with that one. Um, and then the other one was Crimson Star Lord, and his profile picture was like a close up of a Big Daddy face. So all you saw were like these just like those like glowing eyes. Um, and if you didn't know, like if you couldn't, if you didn't know what like that was like the beginning of Bioshock. So like not everyone knew what the Big Daddy was, but like so if you didn't know, you saw like these glowing like orbs, and the name was Crimson Star Lord. It was just cool. Um, so I was like, oh, I want a long name as well, that has like a lot of parts to it. So that's where I started building all of that. And I think that might be the end. I think that
Okay.
might be the end. I don't think that I have any more like hints or anything like hidden away in there. It's just been my thing everywhere. If you see that name out there, Oh, I guess there is one more thing. There is one more thing, and I will. There we go. I have one more thing to say. I'll leave that for whenever we do this again.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, you can find Justin on Discord at the Real Pipe Gamer. Again, he's going to be hosting Game Club this Sunday, which is April 3rd. Yes, April 3rd
Yes.
at 7 p.m. So please definitely join us for that. And if you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, or if you haven't followed us on social media, do so. We are DC Gaming Group on all platforms. And also make sure you join our Discord. You can get the link to our Discord on our main website, dcgaminggroup.com, or dcgg.gg for short. But yeah, that is it for this week. Again, thank you all for joining us, and we're going to see you all next week. Peace.
Bye, everybody.